Welcome back. We're live. So the model, some time spent in Paris, another complicated human condition. But please let me introduce the director and the lead actress, Matthiesen and Maria Palm. This was the world premiere. Thank you so much. Here, take a seat.
Yes.
So interestingly enough, we are also connected live to Rockschlov, to Kino Nova Heroes Horizonti. So welcome to Rockschlov. The interesting thing about that is, of course, that you shot a large part of the film in Poland. You have a big Polish connection with the film. You also, Maria?
Yeah.
How did that come about? It was a Polish co-production, but...
I mean, yeah. The thing was that it basically came about because of a Polish co-production. I won a grant from the Polish Film Institute on my previous film, Teddy Bear, and we discussed on how to do this film, shooting some of it in Warsaw, and yeah, and it was that was actually possible. And you probably don't think when you see the film which scenes are shot in Paris, which of course some of them you can see the Eiffel Tower. So no, but some of them it's obvious where it's in Paris, but. I think we came pretty much good around that, you know.
Well, I think it's a, yeah, I mean, I had no idea we were not in Paris, so Poland is a perfect place to shoot Paris, so great for their production, great for their production. When you were casting for the film, obviously, Maria is perfect cast, right? Perfect. But was that a search, or you always wanted to work with her?
I mean, the whole thing about starting this movie up and starting to write on it was that I wanted to do this film about a young girl who travels out, and I didn't want to. I wanted to be realistic in that sense, that I wanted to find a real fashion model that worked in the industry, that had the looks, that could to play the main part. So we started to cast in only fashion models, Danish fashion models, and did it over a period of 8 months or something, casting 60 to 70 of almost all the Danish fashion models came into the casting studio. And I met Maria very early in the casting. Actually, she was staying in New York at that time. We had to go out because some of them live abroad and doesn't come much to Copenhagen. And then she was my favorite from the beginning. We continued to cast and figure out who was there, who was still abroad or something. But yeah, I did a movie before Teddy Bear. My previous movie was also a non-actor in the main part, so I was kind of very, I felt secure also meeting Maria and seeing her talent. I was like 100% sure that we can do this.
Just before I'm going to ask you one more question, but I'm going to ask one of my team to reboot my iPad, please. But in the meantime, Maria, you're a model, you're very successful, you do campaigns for Diesel, you work for Marc Jacobs, you're in his campaigns, you've been in every magazine known to man. Isn't that enough, or is acting something you were always drawn to? I mean, this is the question you're going to get asked a lot. This is the world premiere, so I get to ask it first.
Yeah. Well, actually, I thought about the whole acting thing way back, and I actually decided that it wasn't, I wasn't drawn to that, and I was like, oh, looks hard. But then I was in New York at a job, and my agent sent me the casting, and I was like, okay, let's try it out, and let's see what happens. And in the beginning I was like, oh, that's annoying. I have to learn all these lines, but yeah. But then you know, during the process and more castings, there was like this great adrenaline, and it was something new, and it became more and more interesting. And yeah, so I'm very happy that I got it in the end.
We're happy you got it. In terms of the script, you said learn all these lines. How fully written was it? Was there a relationship that Maria had to the writing in the final stages in terms of like authenticity? Or actually, the team who were behind the film are all men, and it's a story about a young woman.
Yeah.
Was there something in there that Maria was able to feed you with in terms of that truth?
I mean, she was my expert in the fashion.
Sure.
She was acting and
Expert
still
as a
being
young
the
woman.
expert. You know, like this is how we do it. You know,
Great.
but that was great. But yeah. What was your question?
Was the script how
Yeah, the
locked was
thing-
it, and
yeah.
were there things that you found together, improvising, working together?
No, but the thing is that I always, you know, of course there is a script, and I always work that way, that there is lines, and we didn't do that much improvisation and stuff like that. But I always, at some point, you know, the last rewrites, when Maria finally got the part, we did a lot of talks, and I kind of try to, you know, write it more for her. Of course, it's a very fictional part. Maria is not like Emma in the movie. But I always try to, you know, when the casting process is coming together, to rewrite the script after that to kind of get it more right in that sense. And there's a lot of actors, of course, professional actors in the movie, but there's also a lot of, you know, real people from the Paris fashion scene. All the shoots are done with, you know, all the extras, everyone. It's like real fashion people working. We made this collaborationship with L'Officiel, which is a French magazine that kind of. So it's mixed. There's a lot of actors.
There's some
but there's
hybrid.
and I always,
stuff.
you know.
Yeah, but yeah, you were super open with just like reading it through, and is there anything? And then, you know, I would be like, maybe I would never say that word, and you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
so
that.
it's,
Yeah.
and we did a lot of rewriting. Also, we also did these kind of teaming the different characters up together and doing rehearsals and figuring out, okay, how is this relationship
What's their
gonna,
precise interaction?
How is
Yeah.
Frederick and
How
Emma?
do we play towards each other?
Yeah. How is it that Frederick and Emma relationship? How, you know, how do we build that? So,
Yeah.
but in the end, we have like a script, and we pretty much follow it. Of course, there is a possibility of improvising some, but.
Yeah, but I mean, I liked that there was a script. Every time, you know, if somebody would go off the script, I would be like, well, then I have to respond in another way, and that can get complicated. Yeah, that's.
And I guess the other question you're going to get asked again and again, so I'm going to get in, is like, how autobiographical is it? How many aspects of that journey of the character do you recognize, or did things have you observed in your career?
Well, for me, it was very, well, when I read the script first, like the first 30 pages, I could totally, you know, see myself being a young girl, going to Paris for the first time, and going to my agency and meeting my agent for the first time. And, you know, the tone is very different from maybe what you're used to, and getting to know how to act as a young girl in an adult world. Because that's, you know, a big part of the job is that you're young, and you, if you're new like Emma, you come to a place where you just work with a lot of experienced and a lot of older people. So
Yeah, you're plunged into a really
exactly.
adult world.
Yeah.
And you represent adulthood.
Exactly. And then, but then, you know, Emma started taking these choices and, you know, act the way that she is, which is very not the way that I am. So in that way, she kind of takes a turn that I didn't do. Yeah. Thank God. Yeah.
Before we move on, there's one question I want to pick up, but there's that marvelous scene where Emma talks about how she saw herself as a young girl, and she was teased, and she was the outsider. Yeah. Is that moment for me was the hook for the film? It's like, then I understood her. You played it beautifully, and it's a fantastic scene. But was that an aspect of the character that you understood as well, as sort of being different, or?
I mean, well, Personally, I've never really felt left out or made fun of, but still I have never been the popular girl in the class. So achieving something is also a great success for me in this way. But yeah, I see it a lot, and I feel also in the fashion industry, these girls, some of them are a little bit odd looking or super long or whatever, and doesn't really fit in some places, and then they fit in there. So I think it's definitely a reality. Yeah.
There's a question here coming in from Nicholas Newhold. Teddy Bear, the movie which you previously made, which deals with a bodybuilder. Again, a sort of very strong external carriage for a character, and then beauty, perfection in the model. The question is, it feels like a trilogy. Will it be?
Yeah, there maybe the thought has come around, but maybe. Let's see. Maybe it's going to be 10 films.
Do you have an idea of where you're going next with the next piece of work?
I'm working on different ideas, and of course, I have an idea that is also kind of a physical appearance thing. But I don't know in the end what will happen. But yeah, maybe it's also is it 3 films? Maybe it's 10, or maybe it's about that. There's a lot of no. I think appearance and how you appear is interesting, and how people look at you, and how there's a lot of possibilities of telling stories about the individual meeting the social society around you in terms of that.
I understand there's a question, a filmed question coming in from Kino Nova Horizonte. Could we have that question come up?
Hi guys, I'm Patrick at New Horizons Cinema, and I got a question to the director. Is there any difference between these two worlds, the fashion world and the film world? And how did you feel in it when you had to change something like you have to change this, maybe combine these two worlds, the fashion world and the film world? And I would like to hear the answer for that question. Thank you.
No, but I think I think there's a lot of similarities between the film world and the fashion world. The film world I've been a part of for the last 10 years or more, and the whole thing about my last movie was quite a success, and that whole thing about suddenly standing at a big festival, receiving a director award, and being all psyched about it, and then come down again after that. That whole thing about suddenly make it as Emma in the movie. So I think, and in general, I think that the fashion industry and the film industry has a lot of things in common. Being what is cool, what is not, who is the new shit, and stuff like that.
Who's maybe just getting a little too old.
Yeah, exactly. It's easy to be in, and it's easy to be out.
There's another question here from Evelyn. Maria, is acting similar to modeling for you? It's sort of the same question, but for you specifically.
No, I think there's a huge difference. Modeling is, I know how to work in front of a camera. I know how to be in one with the camera, and it's about, what's outside. Where acting is the inside part. You have to forget how you look, how your angles are, and you need to be able to let go and not think about that. Towards modeling, where it's all you think about.
Right.
Yeah.
We have another cast member with us on tape, as you just got a little preview of, Ed Skrine. Let's hear from Ed, who's talking here about meeting Mads.
I was blown away as soon as I read the script, and I had a Skype with Mads, and I'll forget a lot of things in my life. I have forgotten a lot of things that have happened in these 32 years, but I'll never forget the conversation that I had with Mads. I know exactly which seat I was sitting in the lobby of the hotel at the time. I remember what I was wearing. It sounds like the first time you meet the love of your life. And we had a wonderful conversation. We were so enthused by each other, and we clicked immediately. And the stages of enthusiasm just grew.
Did the two of you click? I mean, we feel it, but was there...
Me and Ed?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I was a little nervous meeting him, because it's the first film and I don't know anybody or anything, and yeah, no, but then it was such a, I got so relaxed because he was so amazing. Like he's very calm and energetic at the same time. He gives you great advice, and he wants to, make you feel comfortable and work with you. But at the same time, I could laugh with him before and after, which was totally what I needed to just
Comfort,
relax
yeah.
and get comfortable.
There's a question here. For Mads, really, I guess. Thomas D. Hudak says, since we all have some preconceptions about the world of fashion, did you manage to get inside, do some research? And I'm going to add, because I know you've just screened it for some of the key people in the Danish fashion world, how did you access that world to get an insider's knowledge, and how has the response been from the world that you portray?
I mean, my best expert in a way was Maria, having her so close all the time in that sense. But of course, I went out when we started writing on the script. I co-wrote it with Martin Sandfried and Anders August. I went on some trips to Paris because I knew maybe a little bit about the Danish fashion industry, but Paris was something totally new. So I went there and met with bookers and went to the fashion week and followed some girls around, seeing how how it was, how the vibe was. And I talked with a lot of people in that phase of writing. And then at some point, Maria came in and helped me also. And of course, also the big casting session where I met a lot of, girls who had done it and were doing it. Also in the casting process helped me a lot in that, in terms of that. And when we finally started to shoot the film, we also involved a lot of Paris people, like I told you with L'Officiel. We involved even more people in that process. And I think what was important for me was it's so much on the line doing a film about in the fashion industry. You can so much get picked on because it's not believable. It's not. So it was very important for me to do a proper research and do it proper in that sense.
Well, even Robert Altman kind of got hammered.
Yeah, exactly. It's so scary to do. But so that was very important for me. And it seems like, I was screening for a lot of fashion people in Denmark here the other day. It seems like they believed in it.
Yeah.
even though it's not made for them, but still,
it's so good to be accepted.
Yeah, but let's see the next what will happen with that. But,
I think we're actually live in Poland, and Sophia, the character who was Emma's roommate, is also Polish. Let's see, here we are in Poland. Hi guys. They'll wave back in a minute because we have a delay. I just wanted to say hello to our Polish friends. Now we're getting to the kind of questions that also, they're sort of tied in together. It's like, what happens to her? The tension of that moment at the end of the film is like you could cut it with a knife. So, it's for both of you, it's for all of us. Does she go back on the catwalk for Chanel? Does Emma get back together with Frederick? They're like the what-if story questions coming up.
Yeah.
No,
Any feelings about that? You want to leave it up to the audience?
there's a reason why it ends where it ends. If we wanted to tell the story about what happens now, does she go to Paris or does she end up with Frederick? We would have told it. So it's kind of it's part of the open ending in a way.
Well, people are asking, so it's working. It's working really well. Really well. There's a question more here. Says, how can we empower women more in cinema? Clearly, the character has power, and then how she deploys it sometimes goes astray, and yet at other times her power falls short. Do you feel the film is about a woman who is not empowered, or?
I feel it's about a woman who is in power, you know, but maybe is too young to maybe deal with the things she faces. But I think she has power. That's how I look at it. But it's mostly, I think, you know, the whole thing about the young individual, young girl that meets the more mature adult business. That's just. It's just a dangerous
Moment in time.
moment in a way, or dangerous, or it has conflict
Right.
in it. And it also had it for me being a young boy growing up
Right.
and meeting, you know, how it is. So that's. But I think she's definitely a girl with power, you know, and making her
Right.
own choices in that.
Because I think she makes a lot of choices, and a lot of choices that young girls maybe normally would be too scared of doing. She goes all the way.
She's brave.
Yeah, I think she has some. Yeah, she's brave in some way, but then it just doesn't really succeed for her. You know, it's.
But that's the nature of youth.
Yeah.
We fuck up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a question just leads on from that directly from Malus. Maria, what advice would you give to young girls who want to get into the fashion, who want to become a model?
I would say that, you know, the most important thing for me was always that, you know, I had both my feet on the ground, that I didn't get too carried away, and that I always would go for my guts, because, well, for me, I also started super young, like 16, 17, and I had my family in my back, which was super important. And you can see, like, Emma, she needs somebody, and she can't really find who to grab onto. But for me, it was very important to have somebody who could be there for me all the time. So, I mean, I would advise to go for it, but to not get lost.
Right.
Yeah.
Hold on to your core.
Yeah.
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 I think we are hitting to the end of the time that we have to share here on stage and with the cinemas across Europe. But last question, Mads, how does it feel to have your movie world premiere playing in over 45 cinemas across Europe?
It's very exciting and very cool that all you guys are sitting out there, you know, and of course here, but also I think it's very fun idea, and it's nice to get out there, you know. That's what it's all about, getting out to the audience. So,
well, I think, you know, world premiere in this situation in International Festival Rotterdam. Thank you so much for sharing the film with us for the very first time, and thank you for being here. It's fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.